beaches of Normandy are peaceful once again. The 50th anniversary commemorations have moved inland, following history's course, just as the greatest invasion force in history did in the weeks following June the 6th. But around June the 6th, this was the center of world attention, as hundreds of thousands gathered to honor those veterans who returned here and those who never left.
The first troops from the 1st and the 29th Infantry Divisions landed at Omaha Beach at low tide. The tides brought the landing craft onto the wrong stretch of beach, and the attack faltered under withering fire from the high ground. The troops remained pinned down on the beach until 1 o'clock in the afternoon, when naval gunfire, coupled with the German 352nd Division running out of ammunition, allowed them to move inland. Bloody Omaha, as it was called, cost more than 2,000 American lives.
The prelude to the ceremony at the Normandy American Cemetery culminated the end of a long journey for American vets from World War II. For some, this is their chance to meet a dignitary or speak directly with their state senator. This is their day, and they are the honored guests. With the arrival of President Clinton, the day's tributes began. Master of Ceremonies, Walter Cronkite.
This beautiful, peaceful countryside today masks the horrors of half a century ago.
50 years ago, thousands died here in Normandy. The wreath, presented by the President and 2 D-Day veterans, acknowledged the sacrifice. General John Shalikashvili, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, brought D-Day to the present with the introduction of Company Commander Joe Dawson, one of the first to land at Omaha Beach. To an audience of thousands, the President of the United States delivered a message that recognized the price paid in the past. The President went on to say that what D-Day set in motion is the continual American commitment to freedom and democracy.
In peace.
This ceremony is America's way of commemorating the sacrifices of World War II, of paying tribute to those who dared. This time is designed with them in mind.
I thought it was very moving. Very moving, and it was a nice tribute to our fallen comrades.
The biggest day of my life.
No sacrifice too great. Duty first, right? Camaraderie, no, yes, absolutely.
Oh, yes, ma'am. It sure was. Yes, ma'am.
The whole thing, beautiful.
Did it click? Did it click?
I got a picture of Gordon Sullivan. He come over and shook hands with me, and he had his aide to take a picture with my camera.
Worth it? Oh, yeah. Very much worth it.
Another part of the ceremony, seldom seen but often heard, the salute battery. With all the importance surrounding the ceremony, the 22-member salute battery made sure they were ready.
Everybody needs to make sure they have their earplugs, check your uniform, look left and right, check your buddy out. Check yourselves out.
Once the word came, it was time to move out.
Forward! Lay off. Lay off. Lay off. Lay off. Lay off. Lay off.
The salute is an honor paid to those present and those who have fallen.
It was really nice. It was great. The veterans showed us a lot of respect. We showed them a lot of respect. It was really worth it. It was really worth being here.
I was just thinking about the veterans that came across the shore on that day, June 6, 1944. I just felt though all the guys that came in, and just to see a veteran when he was crying, just from remembering some of his soldiers that he fought with.
It makes me proud to be a member of the Armed Forces. I hope that someday I get a chance to do something really good that these veterans would be proud of. and make them happy that the forces today are what they are.
The Salute Battery, always there, providing the sound of honor. After the ceremony, the military participants got a chance to meet President Bill Clinton and hear some words of gratitude from their Commander-in-Chief.
I'm very proud of you. Let me also thank you for carrying on in the tradition of the brave people in uniform we honor today. Your country is honored by your service, and as President, I am grateful to know that you are always there for your country when you're needed. The ultimate lesson of all that happened in World War II is that when the free countries remain strong, they don't have to worry about going through what happened in World War II. What happened after World War I was that everybody just withdrew. After World War II, the great countries got engaged and they stayed strong, and we've never had to have another D-Day. With people like you in the armed services, I'm convinced we'll never have to have another D-Day because you will keep us strong. Thank you all, and God bless you.
The day before President Clinton arrived in Normandy on June the 5th, one of the more spectacular of the commemorative events, a mass airborne jump near the first French village liberated during D-Day, Saint-Mère-Église. First, the World War II airborne veterans jumped from their late 60s to age 83. All made it down safely, including one veteran who had to go to his reserve chute when his first chute failed to open. A mass formation of C-130s followed, with a low-level drop of some 500 paratroopers from the 82nd Airborne Division, the 101st Airborne Division, the 325th Airborne Combat Team from Vicenza, Italy, and the 35th French Paratroop Artillery Regiment. After the drop, the planes passed over the church in Saint-Mère-Église. A short time later, the paratroopers marched into town to the cheers of the onlookers. One of them, SFC Gregory Lamp of the 82nd Airborne Division.
It was great, fabulous. People were overly friendly, wonderful people. Makes you feel very good about what the veterans of the war, World War II did. It just gets you right here in the heart. Think of pride. I'm very proud to be here and to be a part of all this. It's great.
For Lieutenant General Daniel Schroeder, the USARA Deputy Commander, it couldn't have been a better day.
The weather, compared to what we had yesterday, the weather today just came out superb, probably due to clean living. Chaplains probably had something to do with that. The veterans parachute jump out of a vintage C-47 and a Twin Beaver or a Twin Otter, I tell you, they were inspirational.
It was the day of the airborne in Saint-Mère-Église, and with more, here's Gail McCabe.
There are simple people living a simple life in the countryside of Normandy. Once a year, the pace picks up in Saint-Mère-Église because this is where D-Day began.
There's a lot of history here in Saint-Mère-Église, and not all of it is tied to World War II. But what put Saint-Mère-Église on the map were the events that took place on June 5th, 1944.
That's when American paratroopers, through a twist of fate, landed here, making Saint-Mère-Église the first French town to receive liberation. History was made. Ever since, American GIs have returned to Saint-Mère-Église to remember. And even though this is the 50th anniversary, commemoration ceremonies in this town will be the same as every year.
For us, this year is no special. This year is special for many towns, many TV, many medias. For us, it's not special. Each year in Saint-Mère-Église, we receive veterans each year. The last year, the last year before, and the next year after. So the same. And each year we have a commemoration, we have a mass. Some years we have paratroopers, and each year we receive veterans and in our families each year. So for us, it's no different.
Something special happens in St. Mary Église. The French have wholeheartedly adopted American GIs, even the modern ones. It's a common scene to see grandchildren of World War II looking for some American memento.
First time somebody came up, what'd you do?
I was kind of like in shock, you know.
But?
I felt kind of honored too.
For D-Day vets, St. Mary Église is a place of memories.
Very sad memories, very sad, because I lost a lot of friends.
You feel lucky?
I was very lucky, because I had 3 units that were completely shot out from under me, and I was the only survivor in 2 of them. And I guess it's because of God's will that I'm here today.
And if the French have their way, they'll always be here for their friends, the Americans, especially this year, the 50th anniversary of their liberation.
What amazes me, the amount of excitement they get when they see us, you know. Everywhere we go, if you fill the tank with gasoline, you know, they come out and they all want to talk to you, and they want to show you their memorabilia about the war there, and you know, they actually have a lot of pictures of our attack.
June 5th is set aside as a special day for vets. On this day, St. Mary Église is their town.
I'm glad you're here. Glad you're here.
These warriors of 50 years ago will always be special in St. Mary Église.
The people are wonderful, and this is my second home. I come here every year. First, to pray for all my fallen buddies, and secondly, to visit everything that I've been through in 1944.
June 5th is a day to pay honor to these vets, especially this year.
This is great, really. We were here in '84 and it was wonderful. Even better now, really.
On this day, in this year, the world is on hand to witness as America's sons remember and are remembered.
82nd Airborne Division, please stand up.
St. Mary Église never forgets the names of those who freed her. For the vets themselves, it's a day of fun.
Yeah, we're having a ball. This is our 7th time back, and we never seen so damn many people and buses and cars and all of this stuff. So.
But you having fun?
Oh yeah, we always have fun in this area.
Very much. It's really nice. Sure is a lot of celebration. We like it.
I'm having a great time with my great friends here, my beautiful wife here.
Feelings here is overwhelming. I mean, it's really something that you could never express in words.
I'm having fun. Innocent fun, of course.
This is a day when the warriors of the past acknowledge the fighters of the present, and vice versa. From dawn until sunset, June 5th in St. Mary Église is where commemoration and celebration join hands, this year and every year.
Well, next year there'll be fewer veterans, but there will be veterans. There'll always be some veterans that will be here.
The activities at St. Mary Église and dozens of other events throughout the region were made possible through the efforts of some 1,500 military people who worked long weeks before the D-Day commemorations and for many days thereafter.
Over 1,500 U.S. Army Europe soldiers participated in Normandy's D-Day 50th anniversary commemoration ceremonies. The bulk of those came from 5th Corps, headquartered in Frankfurt, Germany. 5th Corps Artillery had the task of forming the command and control center for the entire operation of Task Force Fox Green.
This is a once-in-a-lifetime, really, event. It's the 50th anniversary, and for our own veterans, it may be the last for many of them. It is a time for all of us to say thank you for the sacrifice that all of them have made, especially here, the ultimate sacrifice that some have made. So it is something that just doesn't normally happen in one's lifetime. So it's an honor for all of us to be involved.
5th Corps Artillery, along with personnel from 3rd COSCOM and 5th Personnel Group, make up Task Force Fox Green. The mission of putting up a command center here isn't all that different if you compare it to a field problem. But according to Sergeant Bruce Hall, the importance of this mission is obvious.
Anytime presidential program going on, it's important. It's important. That's why you always make sure the soldier's professional, mission is done, everybody's aware of what's going on around you.
Just as it was 50 years ago, the weather is a major concern in the planning of Normandy's D-Day operations. This time the operations are different, but the weather remains almost the same. 5th Corps Staff Weather Officer is Air Force Lieutenant Colonel Larry Becker.
50 years ago, 2 days before the landing, the winds out here on the waters were 50 miles an hour, and it was raining, and they had to almost delay the landing. But the weather forecasters looked out into the future and saw a break at the 36 hours out, and they went with the landing, made it a go. And I'm here to protect the forces, to make sure that we know when the thunderstorms are going to happen, when high winds are going to come up, and when it's going to be raining.
Task Force Neptune and Fox Green team members resided in 6 different living support areas while supporting D-Day commemoration ceremonies in Normandy. Some are great, some are good, and some team members admit it's a step above field conditions.
No tents. It's nice living in a building.
Soldiers from the 41st Field Artillery Brigade out of Babenhausen, Germany, are polishing up on their performance.
Colors! Hold!
Rehearsals are daily, sometimes twice a day, sometimes in the evening. The 41st Field Artillery Brigade has the privilege of providing support for the ceremony at the Normandy American Cemetery. From what soldiers are saying, participating in this event is a real honor.
As a soldier, it just, I guess, made my job and just generally soldiering more meaningful and brought more honor to my job and to my country.
The 12th Aviation Brigade mission is twofold in Normandy. First, transport official visitors to various ceremonies. Secondly, provide medevac transport in case of an emergency. Black Hawk Crew Chief Mechanic Specialist Robert Fusilier says he's proud to be a part of it all.
I feel really lucky to be here. It's a really big deal, in my opinion, and I think a lot of us feel the same way as far as being here.
The ceremony at Point du Hoc is the responsibility of the 130th Engineer Brigade out of Hanau, Germany. Along with that, they have other duties. A platform ramp is needed at the Normandy American Cemetery, and there are bridges to build at the drop zone site for the airborne ceremony. Corporal Foy Capers is glad to be working. It was slow getting started.
We've been sitting in the gym back at Grand Camp and not doing anything, and we just looking to work, finally got out here. You can tell how enthusiastic everybody is to work.
I'll get it. B-Talk, Lieutenant Ettrick.
Task Force Neptune and Fox Green team members rely heavily on telecommunications, so the lines have to be up and clear. Major Patrice Nichols is the S3 for the 440th Signal Battalion.
One radio link goes down here. It's very critical, but out in the field we have time to work it back in, but here we don't. So we have to be a lot more responsive here, a lot more on our toes, and probably doing more in detail of where each telephone is.
Maverick 2, this is Maverick 1.
Controlling traffic circulation and security was a combined effort. First Lieutenant Neve Vernon.
The French, for example, the gendarmes have been very cooperative, go out of their way to help us. We have meetings with them, and sometimes there's a language barrier if there's not a translator right away, but they do what they can to make it work, and they've been really helpful. And I had an augmentation by the SPs, the Air Force SPs and the Marines, and they've been great too. They send their sharpest people to us, so they've been really a lot of help for my platoon.
Being able to participate in the event was a once-in-a-lifetime chance for Master Sergeant Tim Dean.
I think it's an important mission. I feel privileged to be a part of it. Yes, all over there. Privileged to be a part of it, to recognize these veterans that are coming back and remembering what occurred 50 years ago.
3rd COSCOM soldiers out of Wiesbaden, Germany, provided logistical and transportation support for the entire task force. Also, a bulk of 3rd COSCOM soldiers provided support to the 212th MASH unit in Normandy, providing medical support to veterans, service members, and civilians during the commemoration events.
We're here to respond to any kind of medical emergency, be it in our active duty soldiers supporting the operation, or for the veterans, or even civilians in certain sites, particularly at this site here at the cemetery, where we can provide emergency resuscitation care, stabilize patients who are in serious condition, and then transfer them to the French medical system safely.
69th Air Defense Artillery soldiers out of Giebelstadt, Germany, assisted in the planning and performance of 2 ceremonies at Utah Beach. Both ceremonies marked a first in history. The 90th U.S. Army Reserve Command ceremony was the first of its kind held in Normandy to honor citizen soldiers of the 90th Infantry Division since commemorations began following World War II. Specialist Bertram Cromer was one of the ushers.
A lot of these veterans gave their lives, and there's a lot of them who are still alive. That, to me, it's just a big honor to be here, to be able to support these guys.
Utah Beach was also the site where, during the U.S.-French bilateral ceremony, U.S. President Bill Clinton met French President Francois Mitterrand for the first time on French soil.
To those of you who have survived and come back to this hallowed ground, let me say that the rest of us know that the most difficult days of your lives bought us 50 years of freedom.
To sum up the entire support provided by U.S. Army Europe soldiers for Normandy's D-Day 50th anniversary commemoration, USAREUR's Commander-in-Chief General David Maddox put it best.
We ask our soldiers today to do lots of tasks. Some of them they don't like, some of them are really tough, but they've got to get done, and so you ask them to go do it, and then you just watch them succeed. And you need to go out and tell them what's in your heart, and that is, thanks for a great job.
With all the attention on the D-Day anniversary, the significant role played by the Army Air Corps prior to the landings is often not given credit due. It was the forgotten war.
June 6, 1944 was a day of sacrifice, a day when thousands of Allied troops lost their lives on the shores of Normandy. But the losses could have been much greater.
In the months before the invasion that soaked these beaches with American blood, Allied warplanes did all they could to knock out Nazi resources. By D-Day, they had crippled their ability to respond to an attack and taken control of the skies over Normandy.
The U.S. Army Air Corps' 8th and 9th Air Forces also had a big role in the invasion itself. On D-Day, 9,000 American planes were in the skies over Normandy, some dropping paratroopers, while others flew fighter and bomber missions in support of those troops.
Our group was called the Bridge Busters because that was our main job, was to keep those highways cut off and the railroads cut off so that they could not bring up reinforcements or ammunition.
The cooperation between the Army and the Air Force was exceptional.
The Army Air Forces controlled the skies over Normandy on D-Day. The danger instead came from the ground as the Nazis hurled artillery into the air.
I kept a little diary, just a few words each day, and I said it looked like hell erupting up through the earth. It was that bad.
Like the Army's ground forces, the Air Forces also paid the price of war, losing more than 30,000 airmen to the Nazis' weapons. During the 4 months prior to D-Day, 10,000 flyers were lost. The average age of the crews was about 19.
Army Air Corps veterans, Navy vets, D-Day, First Day, and beyond vets, they were the VIPs at Normandy. The cameras of many networks focused on them. And did they ever have stories to tell?
Women of the night.
Well, we took quite a few losses. My particular squad wasn't
I don't think we lost a man on D-Day, only because we were dumped so far away. And but at high tide, you know, by the time we were working our way over on high tide, you couldn't walk on the beach because the water was coming up almost right up to the wall. You had to walk on bodies. You know, there's so many men who died through drowning because of the bad weather and so on. It was unfortunate, but in a way, I think it was probably helpful to us because Rommel wasn't expecting us on such a bad day.
This buddy of mine from Michigan, Mike Micus, he was a guy that more of a daredevil than I. So one day we were in a foxhole and we're getting shelled in an orchard. See, we stayed in orchards rather than out in the open and pitch a pup tent over your foxhole. And so he and I always bunked together. We weren't that kind, but you know what I mean? At that time. And he was an outdoorsman anyway. And so here I'm a greenhorn from Iowa, and he's more of a living out in the wild. So we'd take ferns and lay them down like he'd showed me to make a softer mattress. You'd, you know, take your fern leaves and put them together, and you'd have one night's good sleep at least. And then you'd throw them out and put in new. But anyway, Mike was out there shaving one day, and he had his helmet with some water, you know, and he was just shaving away in the mirror hanging there. And I said, "You crazy fool, you're going to get hit out there. You can't stay out there." They was coming in, and some of them were bursting before they hit the ground. They had them set. And so here he is, and he says, "Oh, my name isn't on one of them." And about that time, bang, she kicks off, and that dang thing hit a tree limb up there. And that shrapnel splattered all over the place. Here he is, he in the hole that quick, just bang, he was in the hole. And he says, "Oh," I said, "there's a piece laying there that got your name on it." He goes, picks it up. It's a hunk that big. It was so hot he had to burn his finger. But anyway, we had close calls, a lot of them.
And we helped out everybody. Everybody was bonded, all the American troops. This was one time, see, during these times, it was very lot of turmoil within the Army of the United States because the black troops and the white troops were separated. And there was a lot of hostility. Sometimes some people had a lot of hostility. But when your ass get caught up in a corner, you forget about the hostility. If a black guy can come in and save your butt, you're glad to see him, okay?
We had kidded about people doing it. We had a young fella in our platoon, in our boat team. We used to say Gino, and his name was Gino Ferrari. First man in my boat team I seen get killed. He said, we used to sit around the barracks, and they're in the staging area. We didn't have much time. We'd go to briefings and so forth. And his birthday was supposed to be the 21st of June. And we used to kid him. We used to say, "Gino, you'll never live to be a man." And he'd say, "Why?" He said, "Your birthday's the 21st, and we hit that beach, you know what's going to happen? They're going to shoot your tail off." We joked like that. One guy had $700 in American money, and somebody said, "Hey, what are you saving that American money for, Smitty?" He said, "Look, when this war's over, I don't have to stand in some line to change my American dollars. My francs, whatever I got in American dollars, I got mine all ready to go." And he was killed also. I told Gino to move up. He moved up he was behind me, and I looked back and said, "Come on, Gino, let's move up." We was right. So he said, "Just a minute." He moved up the line and stopped beside me, because you see, you get together, which is wrong. Bunched up, one mortar shell will kill everybody. That's our saying, motto. So anyway, you don't spread out, but you seek to be someone. You feel like if I'm close to you, I'm going to live. And a lot of that's what they felt, see? So anyway, everywhere, I'm no different from anybody else. He moved up beside me, and about that time, something slapped me on the face. And I looked and wiped it off, and it was his brains. And I had trained with him for 18 months. He was a replacement after we'd gotten to England. And we'd had, but as I say, I live this every day.
There are many thousands of stories of D-Day which will never be told. The stories of those will lie buried here in the many military cemeteries across Normandy, Allied and German.
On June 6th, the world's eyes turned to Normandy to remember. The Allied forces are not the only ones who honor their dead in this area. In a cemetery inland from Utah Beach, 10,155 German soldiers are buried together. This cemetery is one of many in the region. The largest German cemetery holds over 21,000. The simple stones are marked on both sides, as the German soldiers are buried 3 deep on each side. Many of the stones bear the words Unbekannter deutscher Soldat, or unknown German soldier. The cemeteries of the countries that battled in Normandy are all over the area. Of the thousands who died here, many remain, but are not forgotten.
This is the largest German cemetery in Normandy. 21,222 German soldiers are buried here. Every year, the German veterans and surviving relatives gather here, together with the French, the former enemy. Many of the veterans, huddled against the rain squall which drenched the ceremony, were 19 or 20-year-old young men 50 years ago when they tried to stop the Allied advance with no air cover and limited ammunition and supplies. Otto Rieck was with the Wehrmacht's 243rd Infantry Division and fought against the Americans at Samri-Église.
Es ist für uns sehr schwer, wenn wir diese Friedhöfe besuchen und vor allen Dingen vor so einer Feier.
He says many thought it inappropriate to come to Normandy while the World War II allies marked the 50th anniversary of D-Day, and it was a difficult decision. But he said, we wanted to remember our friends of the time. We were all so young. The U.S. Cemetery at Omaha Beach. They have rested here for 50 years. The remains of 9,386 servicemen and women, 307 of which are unknowns. 3 are Congressional Medal of Honor recipients. And 4 of the fallen buried here are women. Also buried here side by side are a father and son and 33 pairs of brothers. Many of the soldiers buried here died a short distance away on the beaches of Normandy. It was a German veteran of the fighting in Normandy who said it, but it stands for all of the fallen on both sides. We were all so young, and so many died.